So I would like to give a very warm welcome to a very eminent panelists. Rajesh Dharmani ji is the Himachal Cabinet Minister for Town and Country Planning. He has a
Yeah.
very keen interest in environment, climate change, and renewable energy. In fact, he was recently in Bangalore to study bioenergy. So he's this very dynamic minister who is always trying to think ahead of times. Then we have Dr. S.S. Randhawa. He's Principal Scientific Officer of the Himachal Pradesh Council for Science, Technology and Environment, Shimla. Dr. Randhawa has worked on various projects related to climate change and disaster management in the region. We also have with us Dr. Nilambar Chetri. He's an assistant professor of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT Mandi. Dr. Chetri has conducted extensive research on the socio-economic impacts of disasters on people in the state, as well as environmental issues affecting tribal communities. We are also lucky to have with us Mr. Guman Singh. He's an eco warrior and represents the Himalayan Niti Abhiyan, one of the leading NGOs of Himachal Pradesh. The organization actively addresses forest and environmental issues on various platforms. All of you, thank you so much for taking out your valuable. And now over to Saurabh.
Welcome, Dharmani ji.
Thank you.
In
Thank you,
our
Saurabh.
okay, we have selected Indian cities, and
Okay.
the Shimla is one of the you can say ki it is a very historical and the British era type city. So, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it is also now become decades by decades very prone to the natural calamities and disaster in the last 2 years, and the recently more than 2 dozen cloudbursts were reported in the entire state, and seven were reported into the Himachal Pradesh and within the jurisdiction of district Shimla. So, being a town and country planning department's portfolio is with you, and there is a lot of like a lot of things, lot of improvements is going on the part of government. So just tell us what is the efforts of the government to mitigate these disasters, particularly in Himachal Pradesh and Shimla.
Actually, there are many disasters which are not in the control of humans or governments. But definitely we can take some steps to minimize its impacts. Uh, we have taken some steps to uh, make laws. We have made uh, a condition that will not allow any structure to be built nearby our water streams. It is 5 to 7 meters uh, uh, distance from Nala and Khards. And for rivers, it would be about 25 meters from the rivers. So to avoid uh, flood impacts on our structures.
Okay.
Many structures were washed away during last year monsoon disasters. So to avoid those flood-related disasters, it is important to have some type of guidelines to restrict construction nearby banks of the floods and rivers and small streams which are not perennial, but sometime due to cloudbursts, heavy load of muck and water they that moves those streams and create a lot of damage to the nearby structures. So similarly, we are planning to have a developmental plan exclusively for three districts. In the beginning, we have started making it in the district of Shimla, Kangra, and Kullu, which are more disaster prone. And after some time, we will like to have similar type of developmental plans for the whole of the state, so that we can prioritize our activities, which are construction activities, especially which area we have to open for construction, which have to Cs for construction. We can create no construction zones, green zones, and developmental zones. And in developmental sector also, which are more safe for residential purposes, and which space we have to keep for commercial activities, which area we have to keep for industrial activities, like that. For different zones, we have to create. So we are going for this developmental plan, and we have started process for that. And
So,
simultaneously, we need to build our structures which are disaster resilient, so that disaster not only related to cloud burst and slides, landslides, but uh, earthquake is any time that can happen. So we
yes.
have to prepare ourselves for that also. Our structures are not many of our structures, especially private sectors and small sectors. These are not earthquake resistant.
Mm.
During construction, many of structures have not followed good construction practices, as well as not even they have a structure design. Simple, even during even in the areas of municipal areas and planning areas also, structure design hardly follows. So structurally safe, it is urgently required that our buildings should be well designed structurally. That only can ensure their safety.
Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Dharmani, please tell us, how do you are involving local people into, for making the designing of the buildings and encouraging the people to make your structure more eco-friendly and more foolproof from the disaster point of view. So, what are steps is being taken by the your department to motivate the people, irrespective of any strict penalties, heavy fines, jurmanas, which is a way of typically Indian way to impose the things. So what is the constructive point of view to implement your thoughts and your policies with the people?
Many of uh, persons in the society who are aware about its benefits, if they have built their structures which are structurally safe, which can we can say safe for during earthquake also. So it requires design, as well as even geotechnical investigations are very important, which are we many times we do not follow. So we have empaneled some structure design engineers. We are also planning to empanel geotechnical consultants, which will conduct a geotechnical investigation uh, for all type of. They will prepare uh, profile geotechnical profile of the area, as well as they will have soil testing. They will do soil testing also. So uh, to build heavy structures, and especially government sector, many of these guidelines are being followed. But for medium structures and smaller sectors, people are not following these norms, and a lot of awareness is to be created. We are trying to create awareness also, but ultimately, as you said rightly, that actually it's very hard to impose voluntarily many things. Ultimately, government has to resort to some type of we can say binding to have, like, say, we can say that you will not get NOC from the department to get electricity connections, water connections, and other type of regulatory authorities which are involved in your service providing agencies. They will not uh, give you connections or entitle you for their services till your structure is not approved by the competent authority or regulatory authority. So ultimately, we have to go for this also. Simultaneously, we have to create a awareness also.
Okay. Now I will come to the Mr. Randhawa. Mr. Randhawa, I just want to ask you, like our Minister, Mr. Dharmani has said, They have selected 3 cities like Shimla,
Not
Kangra,
cities,
and Kullu.
districts, all districts.
Districts, all districts, all districts. So I just want to ask you, Mr. Nawa, एक तो one of the I just want to share a historical perspective in it, that ki Shimla is the house of so many historical British era buildings. So that British era buildings which were constructed centuries back, they are still disaster prone. वहां पर भी इस तरीके की वो जो इमारतें उस समय बनी थी, वो अभी भी क्या उनके ऊपर भी वो भी आप उनको भी उतना ही संवेदनशील मानते हैं जितना आज की जो बिल्डिंग्स खड़ी हैं उनको? एंड सेकंड, हाउ मच शिमला इज पर्टिकुलरली, अगर हम बात करें पूरे हिमाचल में, शिमला के ऊपर आप क्या समझते हैं कि आज जो उसके ऊपर शिमला जो किन चुनौतियों को फेस कर रहा है, एनवायरनमेंट से और नेचुरल डिजास्टर से, एंड जो बिल्डिंग स्ट्रक्चर है, इन चीजों को लेकर?
सबसे पहले तो मैं इंडियन एक्सप्रेस ग्रुप का कन्वे थैंक्स करना चाहूँगा कि आप लोगों ने हमें पैनल डिस्कशन में इनवाइट करके बोलने का मौका दिया है। और मैं हमारे मिनिस्टर साहब ने जैसे बताया कि हमारे चैलेंजेस बहुत ज़्यादा हैं। हमारे जो पहाड़ी राज्य हैं जितने, उनकी अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, उनके अपने इश्यूज हैं। जैसे जैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है तो उसमें जो माउंटेन एरिया है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा वनरेबल है, क्योंकि वहाँ की जो हमारी फ्रेजाइल टोपोग्राफी है, वहाँ की जियोलॉजी है, वहाँ की जो स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं या लिथोलॉजी है, वो इस क्लाइमेट चेंज के हिसाब से उनमें काफ़ी सारी चेंज इश्यूज हैं कि उनको विथस्टैंड करने के लिए। जैसे अभी मिनिस्टर साहब ने बताया कि हमारे काफ़ी क्लाउड बर्स्ट हुए, तो जैसे इस साल मानसून में जो बारिश थी कंपैरेटिवली डेफिशिएंट था 18% के करीब नॉर्मल जो एक्चुअल रेनफॉल था। एक्चुअल रेनफॉल जो मानसून में 700 mm के करीब होता है, तो हिमाचल में इट वाज अराउंड 600 के करीब हुआ है, विच इज अराउंड 18% लेस देन द नॉर्मल रेनफॉल। परंतु फिर भी जो एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स हैं, वो जो पिछले कुछ एक दशक से हम जो देख रहे हैं कि इनकी जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है बहुत बढ़ गई है हिमाचल में। और ना कि हिमाचल में, परंतु जो जितने भी माउंटेन स्टेट्स में हैं, वहाँ पे भी जो एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं। उत्तराखंड ले लो, लास्ट ईयर 2023 हिमाचल वाज वेरी वेरी बैडली अफेक्टेड बाय द मानसून पीरियड, जिसमें कि मोर देन 500 हमारी लॉसेज हुए थे, ह्यूमन लॉस हुए थे। मोर देन 10,000 जो है हमारा फाइनेंशियल लॉस था स्टेट को, ठीक है। और इस साल भी अभी जो हमारा जो 2 महीने का टाइम था मानसून का, इसमें भी हमारे को करीब 1600 करोड़ का जो है फाइनेंशियल लॉस हुआ है और अराउंड 300 जो है वो ह्यूमन लॉस हुआ है। तो ये चीजें जो माउंटेन्स में ये बहुत ज्यादा देखने को मिल रही है ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। या तो बहुत ज्यादा बारिश होगी, जब बहुत ज्यादा बारिश होगी, या फिर कई दफे बारिश नहीं होती तो ड्राउट टाइप ऑफ कंडीशन हो जाती है। तो ये जो सारे जितने एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स हैं वो सारे इंडिकेट करते हैं कि जो क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से जो माउंटेन्स में इसका ज्यादा इफेक्ट हो रहा है। दूसरी बात, जैसे आपने कहा कि जो हमारी हिस्टोरिकल बिल्डिंग्स हैं शिमला की, हिस्टोरिकल बिल्डिंग्स नो डाउट जो है वो अगर उनकी स्ट्रक्चरल सेफ्टी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें तो वो पुरानी जितनी बिल्डिंग वो काटकुनी स्ट्रक्चर्स में बनी हुई है, तो वो अर्थक्वेक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वो बहुत ही स्टेबल स्ट्रक्चर्स माने जाते हैं और उनमें कोई ज्यादा नुकसान होने की संभावना जो है वो बहुत कम होती है। परंतु जो हमारे जो उसके बाद आरसीसी फ्रेम स्ट्रक्चर्स बन रहे हैं, तो उनमें जो है वो अगर हम पूरा बीआईएस कोड्स या नॉर्मल कोड्स ऑफ प्रैक्टिस के साथ नहीं बनाएंगे, उनकी स्ट्रक्चरल स्टेबिलिटी को नहीं ध्यान में रखेंगे, तो वो अनसेफ रहेंगी एट द टाइम ऑफ एनी अर्थक्वेक। जो कि आपको पता है कि हिमाचल प्रदेश जो है वो अर्थक्वेक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत ही वनरेबल है, क्योंकि हम जोन 5 और जोन 4 में रहते हैं। और जोन 5 जो है वो वेरी हाई डैमेज रिस्क जोन है, जिसमें कि अर्थक्वेक बॉडी इंटेंसिटी 9 से ऊपर के अर्थक्वेक आने की संभावना रहती है। और करीब जो 32% हमारा टोटल ज्योग्राफिकल एरिया जो हिमाचल का है, जिसमें मंडी, कांगड़ा, चंबा, हमीरपुर, बिलासपुर, पार्ट ऑफ ऊना एंड पार्ट ऑफ कुल्लू जो है वो जोन 5 में आते हैं। यानी कि यहाँ पे बड़े अर्थक्वेक आने की संभावना जो है हमेशा बनी रहेगी। जो बाकी के डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं हमारे जो है वो वहाँ पे जोन 4 आता है, उनमें भी संभावना रहेगी, पर उनमें जो इंटेंसिटी जो है वो थोड़ी कम रह सकती है क्योंकि वो जोन 4 में आते हैं। ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये बेस्ड ऑन हिस्टोरिकल डाटा, वहां पे किस तरह के आपके जो, क्योंकि जो अर्थक्वेक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जो वहां पे जो स्ट्रक्चरल लाइंस होती हैं, जो जिनको आप बोलते हैं मेन जियोलॉजिकल स्ट्रक्चरल लाइंस, जैसे आप अगर आप नालागढ़ की तरफ खड़े होकर देखें तो नीचे हमारे पंजाब प्लेन्स आते हैं, तो उन पंजाब प्लेन्स को जो हिमाचल की पहाड़ियों को बांटती है वो है हिमालयन फ्रंटल थ्रस्ट, ठीक है। उसके बाद जैसे हम शिवालिक्स में आते हैं, शिवालिक्स में एंटर करते हैं, शिवालिक्स के बाद फिर ऊपर आता है एक मेन बाउंड्री थ्रस्ट, फिर उसके बाद ओल्डर रॉक्स में हम एंटर करते हैं तो मेन सेंट्रल थ्रस्ट। तो ये 3 थ्रस्ट हैं जिनके अलोंग जो है वो डिसलोकेशन होती है, अर्थक्वेक एक्टिविटी होती है। इसके अलावा बहुत सारी ट्रांसवर्स लिनियमेंट्स है, फॉल्ट्स है, जिनमें टेक्टोनिक एक्टिविटी हमारी होती है। तो अर्थक्वेक के बारे में फोरकास्ट करना या प्रेडिक्शन करना अभी तक संभव नहीं है कि कब आएगा, कहाँ आएगा और कितने मैग्नीट्यूड का होगा। तो जैसे हमारे मिनिस्टर साहब ने कहा है कि हमारे को अपने स्ट्रक्चर्स, हमारे को जो अपने घर है, चाहे वो सरकारी घर है या किसी का अपना घर है, वो अर्थक्वेक प्रूफ बनाना है, ताकि जो डिजास्टर अर्थक्वेक आए तो वो उसके जो शॉक्स है, जो वाइब्रेशन है, उनको वो विदस्टैंड करे और वो गिरे ना। अगर आपका स्ट्रक्चर गिरता नहीं है तो आपका जान माल नुकसान नहीं होगा, थोड़ा बहुत अगर आपके स्ट्रक्चर में नुकसान हो सकता है परंतु जान माल नुकसान नहीं होगा। तो जैसे मिनिस्टर साहब कह रहे हैं कि हमारे को इन सिटीज में जितनी भी हमारी अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है उसका हमारे को सर्वे करवाना चाहिए कि वो स्ट्रक्चरली सेफ है कि नहीं है। तो इस हिमाचल सरकार जो है इस दिशा में काफी काम कर रही है। अब हिमाचल सरकार ने जो है करीब हर जिले से 20-20 बिल्डिंग का एक सर्वे करवा रहे हैं, जिसमें उनको देखेंगे कि वो स्ट्रक्चरली सेफ है। वो सारी या तो हमारी जितनी भी लाइफलाइन बिल्डिंग होंगी या क्रिटिकल बिल्डिंग्स होंगी या हॉस्पिटल्स होंगे या स्कूल्स होंगे या गवर्नमेंट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट्स होंगी, क्योंकि ये बिल्डिंग जो एटलीस्ट हमारी जो कि रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में काम आती हैं वो सारे सेफ होने चाहिए। तो इनका सर्वे करवा रहे हैं कि वो स्ट्रक्चरली सेफ है, अगर नहीं है तो उनका रिट्रोफिटिंग किया जाएगा, उनको स्ट्रक्चरली एज पर द प्रेजेंट मॉडल बाई लॉज, बिल्डिंग बाई लॉज उनकी या कोड्स ऑफ प्रैक्टिस से उनको सेव किया जाए।
Yeah, now I will like to ask Mr. Guman Singh. He is the eminent our environmentalist. So, what do you feel, Mr. Guman Singh, the challenges in the particular in this particular field before the Himachal state, and how can civil society, the local people, the people of state, can cooperate with the state government, and what should state, if you want to advise something for the state to do this thing in a particular manner, so we can avoid calamities and disaster in our in Himachal Pradesh.
Hello to all friends in panel, Mr. Jumani, my friend, and all. नीलांबर
नमस्कार
साहब,
नमस्कार।
और क्या हाल है? ऐसा है, सब अच्छा अच्छा है। अच्छा अच्छा इसलिए कहूंगा मैं, देखिए, we should understand humanity. We are just talking things, but we doesn't plan without understanding the humanity. There are certain real issues. First is you should understand that this is a new mountain and it is fragile, diversity is correct. That's a given reality. Uh, then its geological formation is like such. Uh, Dr. Dhava also hinted that this is because of this fragility and the new mountain and collision with this Asian plate of Gondwana is it's highly seismic. He was really hinting it's good. We have to consider these issues whatsoever we are to be planning in future. And third is these are, of course, climate change is irreality, which is irreversible process now. And 1.5 target is now going. We are going to achieve into 2025, I think so. Next year, which is we are discussing in international conferences that we will reduce our emission, but it will not be happening. Now we have to live with this reality. Third is the development planning and development model which we are following for this Himalayan region. Are we not responsible creating these all disasters? You can understand that we questioned last year when there was flood in Kulu Valley, Bias Valley. We questioned this year too when there was flood in Samej. I was there. We have submitted all reports. Understand what we were saying. We were particularly saying these are development planning problems. What were we doing last month when Sonam Wangchu and we were walking together to Delhi? What was that? What were we saying? Understand these issues. Brahmani ji, you are in the position, you are our friend, you have been with us. You understand. What were we saying? What were we saying? What Sonam was saying? What I am saying? Plan like this. You see, urbanization is taking place rapidly in Himalayan region, Indian Himalayan region. 2011 से 21 के बीच में 10 साल का डाटा देखो आप. It is 40% increase in urbanization in Himalayan states, Indian Himalayan, and we have no planning of urban cities. Sorry to say it, whosoever is the government, today you are there were somebody else 2 years back, that's not issue. Issue is we all are not serious. How we should build our cities. Then just to say that don't just build see your hotels and building near flood zone. But we just say it was earlier told by the High Court that there should be 10-meter building construction should be above the 10-meter of this flood zone. But who followed it? We talk about laws, we make laws, but we don't follow these laws. That's really very pity thing. Then you are minister of this urban development. I'm saying, Dhirmani ji, we are worried of this. If we don't have planning, development planning model, proper model, we will definitely face all these issues. And we will continuously going to face these all, and this will just a talk that we are doing that. We should have certain parameters. We should decide something that how the development in Himalayan region should be taken place. There was, you see, in 1980, Planning Commission constituted a committee, as that Kasam Committee. You should look on the recommendation of that committee. This was not followed by government at all, but only two institutions were built. One institution was built, that J.B. Pant Institute for Himalayan Studies. This was the only production of that committee.
Yes.
This was good initiative of Planning Commission at that time. But after that, Government of India have not done. We raised many times with the issue in Parliament. We conducted meeting of Himalayan parliamentary in Delhi. I myself initiated this issue, but nothing has been done. And this last year, Modi government constituted some sort of committee. There are many jokers which are not from Himalaya. And they are doing something nonsense.
Yes,
So,
I'm
you're
really
right.
worried of this
yes.
all. What is happening?
Yes.
So we all
Gumanji, yes.
पहाड़ियों को थोड़ा सोचना पड़ेगा भाई.
Yes, you are right.
इसलिए पहाड़ियों को सारे हिमालय का पहाड़ियों से अनुरोध है कि पहाड़ के विकास की नीति बननी चाहिए.
बिल्कुल. As you said, I will add one more thing, and I will now shift to the Nilamri ji. Our eminent environmentalist Ramchandra Guha, he is also a noted, very eminent historian.
बिल्कुल वो हमारी तरह ही सोचते हैं, क्या करें हम.
Yes, he openly said in his articles and on various platforms that अगर पहाड़ों के बारे में अगर आपने कोई नीति बनानी है तो you should involve the people of hills. people of mountains.
पहले वो
Instead of
बात तो
running,
देखिए, पहली बात तो अब तो देखिए, मैं एक बात और दरमानी जी
जी
को
जी
भी सुनाई दूं।
जी,
सारा
मैं सुन,
मसला और है, केंद्र
जी जी,
सरकार आज ये चाह रही है कि पूरे हिमालय राज्यों पर
यस,
केंद्र का नियंत्रण बढ़े,
नियंत्रण बढ़े, ठीक
और
है,
इस
वी
राजनीति
एग्री,
को जरूर समझे। मैं बार बार कह रहा हूं, ये राजनीति है, और
यस,
ये कोई चाइना के दबाव में नहीं है, ये चाइना की दोस्ती में है, ये शक
ओके,
है मुझे। और मैं बार
यस,
बार कह चुका हूं इस
I
बात
think
को।
we
ये
should
जो
focus on
आज
engagement.
ट्रेस एलिमेंट का
यस, यस,
मसला है,
Climate
कुमार जी,
ये
वी
मामला
एग्री
बड़ा
विद
गड़बड़ है और एग्रेसिव
नाउ,
होगा।
Yeah.
yes, मैं now I will like to come to
या
Dr. Nilamri
यू कुड
Chetri.
से नजर।
Yeah, Nilamri ji.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nilamri ji, but I just want to ask you that how do you feel? How is this rampant construction and the changing climate affecting the local population in Shimla and as well as in the Himalayan state Himachal Pradesh? And we casually we are hearing about the extreme water shortage during the summers, which are getting longer. So how it is these changing circumstances affecting the normal people, the social, economical, like aspects of the a common man of this Himalayan state in Himachal Pradesh.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank all the people of Indian Express for inviting me, and also the esteemed panelists with whom I can share many things, in fact. And first, the question that you have asked me is very pertinent in today's time. And by training, I'm a sociologist. I'm not an engineer, or though I'm in IIT, but
Yes,
I'm not
yes.
an engineer by training. And I'm also in the kind of my own position in this entire scheme of thing is very interesting, because I come from the Eastern Himalayas. I am from Kalimpong, actually, region of Kalimpong, which is in the Eastern Himalayas, which is part of Darjeeling. But I have been working here for the last 6 years. So both in my hometown as well as in Himachal, what we can see is this rampant nature of infrastructure development, as well as urbanization, which is not regulated to a large extent. People are encroaching upon different kinds of lands, and those encroachments are creating certain kinds of issues for the people, especially related to the water issue. Water is a very big crisis. Like I am not very sure still of Shimla, but in regions like Kalimpong and other places, people are already, what we see is the growth and development of what we can call as water mafias. So when the state fails, machinery fails, provide drinking water, in its place, it's filled by certain kinds of a group of people who actually monetize on water supply, right? That means they bring water in 1,000 liters tanks, and they supply it to different people in the urban locales. So what I also want to like to highlight is that the nature of urbanization, which is happening in the Himalayan region, which I tend to call it as a mushroom form of urbanization. That means you dig out from the riverbed and you pile it up on top of the mountain, right? Because Shimla is on top of a mountain on a ridge. So is the case of Dharamshala and McLeodganj. So in the same likelihood, you can also look at other places in the mountainous region in which you actually take things from the down and you pile it on top. And that is creating certain kind of disbalance, both in terms of your environmental, ecological issues, in the sense of certain kind of the equilibrium which existed in the past. Now that is being severely being affected. At the same time, you also see that this issue of infrastructure is something which is very much needs to be discussed, both in the Eastern Himalayas as well as in the Western Himalayas. My experiences of working with the people in the Himalayan region, especially in Himachal, I'll only talk about that. I started exploring this whole issue of socio-economic impact of these four-lane highways on people in the region of Mandi, and at least my fieldwork was still out and regions of Mandi. So what I find is that there is certain form of apprehension on the part of people regarding the functioning, how this actual infrastructure project takes place, the acquisition of land, and later on there are also other kinds of allegations which people have made regarding the loss of their land because of leaving of 5 meters of land which they have to leave after the houses has been demolished. Plus, there was also this TCP norms that you have to leave 3 meters further. So eventually they are left with a very small component of the land, right? So people have often complained about those kind of things. So Along with that, I think other issues which we have to really think about is this bureaucratic delays, which happens in terms of compensation, in terms of providing for certain kind of amenities for those people who will be who will be severely affected. In the sense, when this crisis happened in 2023 of the flood and other erosions which happen in different kind of places, we also find that there are certain kinds of delays which are created because of the bureaucratic handling of things. So I think that also needs to be addressed. So I tend to look at this whole atmosphere in the Himalayan region as what I call as socio nature. That means it's not just because of the natural element, but it's also because of a political and social embeddedness within that scheme that things have gone out of hand. And to bring it back into its some form of equilibrium, we also have to think in terms of other avenues beyond just technological know-how. That's my humble submission, and I often to talk about it in amongst the colleagues at IIT Mandi also, that it's not through technology we can solve everything. We also have to look at certain other forms of traditional knowledge system, indigenous practices, through which we can at least get a sense of how things are maintained by the people, right? So that becomes very, very important and crucial for us. And lastly, I will just conclude by saying that we are also thinking of, and if some from the from and other people, if they are willing to help us, we are also thinking in terms of developing certain form of social accountability index. That means when you find infrastructure projects being implemented in any kind of state, there are two kinds of reports which are created. One is environmental assessment uh, report, or there is a social impact assessment. But what I find is that once the construction happens, those reports, people don't take into consideration the accountability part. So I'll give you an example that in the environmental assessment report, in most often the companies write that we will deposit all the muck in a certain kind of place. But if you look at the reality, it's random, right? So there's no accountability as such. So in terms of that, also as a social scientist, if we can think in regards to this social accountability, that means once the construction has been done, how and what in what ways we can still ask this question as to who are accountable for the nature of construction which has happened. If the construction is not of that optimum level, how you can still implicate that construction company, and if they have promised for other kinds of avenues, right, something like a community hall or certain kind of safety protocols in that particular village, how we can still bring them under the loop. So with that humble submission, I would like to
Shimla is
Yeah.
also suffering from vehicular, density and vehicular emissions. So, Mr. Chetri, would you like to talk about that? When you're saying you go back to indigenous practices, etc., should we also encourage more people on cycles, encourage people to walk more and those ropeways, etc.? Would you have any suggestions on that?
ropeway and others, I'm not very sure if that would still call itself, it still qualifies as an indigenous practice. What I'm trying to say is that our conception about the landscape, right? Or conception about the space, because infrastructure, all these things are happening on a certain kind of a scale, on a platform, right? The social platform. So our conception of how people actually deal with this idea of space itself has to be grounded on certain kind of traditional understanding. So we cannot bypass that. What tends to happen in many of the infrastructural projects is that it tends to actually overrule certain kinds of knowledge system. I'll just give you an example. So when I was researching on this Bagi Khad, this region, so when this 2023 calamity happened in Himachal, what we did was that we actually looked at different kinds of newspaper reports. So we collected almost around 500 reports, which was published both in Hindi and English. And we actually were trying to look at what are the issues which were mainly projected in those kind of newspaper reports. So, and which places becomes more highlighted in those reports. So we found that major of the newspaper reports actually highlighted on Shimla and other places, but Buggy and other kind of places, the regions would never get highlighted. But when we went and talked to the people, now they would explain the kind of occurrence which happened, the events which happen in those region as form of certain form of a cosmological interpretation which they provided, which we should not actually sidelined completely as certain form of fatalistic kind of thinking. That's what I'm trying to think. Because alongside their religious explanation, they also relied on certain other kinds of actual, in a sense, scientific explanation at the same time. So how we actually can think of spaces, regions in terms of its traditional cosmology, I think that would be very, very important. So when the situations are too desperate, the solutions also should be little radical, I feel.
Yeah, I just again want to ask Mr. Dharmani.
Please.
Yes, जैसे अभी हमारे जो चीफ मिनिस्टर सुखविंदर सिंह सुक्खू, he is very like committed about the environment, and in recently the state government has also increased the green cover in the Himachal state. So, to make a balance between the ecological balance and the historical charm of the Shimla city. So, can you please tell us more about it and the like how? And second, there is also a new townships are coming. They are proposed to be new townships in and around the Shimla, like Shimla Development Plan. It was born of contention with the many civic societies, environmentalists, and the state government, and the matter reached to the Supreme Court also. And after NGT and Supreme Court, now the government has given a green signal, so you can go ahead on the Shimla Development Plan. So मैं थोड़ा सा आप थोड़ा सा हमें थोड़ा बताने की कोशिश कीजिए, टाउन एंड कंट्री प्लानिंग डिपार्टमेंट, how is coping with the Shimla Development Plan? What are the what are the next for the Shimla?
You are rightly said that we have taken many initiatives, and our worthy Chief Minister planning to make Himachal a green state, green state. So we have taken many steps in this regard. Like we are promoting electric vehicles. So we are planning to buy more and more, even electric buses for our HRTC's Transport Corporation. We have also signed an agreement with the Hindustan Petroleum, or I think with IOC, sorry, IOC, to have a hydrogen plant in Nalagarh. So we are planning to switch over to green technology. We have a lot of hydropower. We are developing solar parks. So we can have more and more renewable energy. And one more project which is environment friendly, that is for intra-city transportation. So we have made a project, and tenders have been floated. That amounts 1,500 crore. That is for a ropeway within the city of Shimla. It will connect different parts of the Shimla city by this ropeway. So it will be environment friendly, and moreover it will be convenient for commuters, which will save their time as well as this traffic congestion. We cannot avoid ongoing construction activities, but definitely we have to plan that it should. Moreover, it should be disaster resilient, so that at the time of any disaster, maybe it cloudburst or landslide or earthquake or any other type of any other type of disaster, our structure should be safe. And to prepare our developmental plan, we have signed an agreement with the School of Architecture and Planning, Delhi, and to prepare these developmental plans. We have empaneled, like I earlier said, that we have planned empaneled structure design engineers. We are planning to empanel geotechnical consultant. We are planning to have environmental consultant also. We have planned to empanel transportation consultant. There are many officers who are of sociology background. They are officers in the department of TCP. We have many persons who are of who have studied environmental sciences. So to prepare developmental plan, it will be a comprehensive plan to look after all, to address all the issues, to address all concerns of the all type of sections of the society. So its a main purpose is we should have a planned development. Planned development means that it will not be affected so badly as it was affected last year disaster during monsoon season. It was major property and lives were which property which were developed nearby our water streams or in the areas which were more fragile as well as uh, susceptible to landslides. That was a major reason. Actually, we are not developing structures which are geotechnically safe. And second is we have not built structure which are structurally safe. So we have to ensure safety, geological safety as well as structurally safety. Only then we can save that we can save lives as well as property during disasters. Himachal is a very, we can say, nature-friendly state. It's a mountain state, like Kumar Singh ji said. And we are contributing not only for the welfare of Himachal Pradesh with respect to environmentally, if we can say that we are contributing to the whole nation as well as to the whole world. We have saved our forests. We are not allowing any felling of green trees. That is our major contribution to save our glaciers, to save our environment, so that our uh, rivers they can flow continuously and give water uh, to humanity, give water to plains of our country as well as to our neighboring states, neighboring countries, as well as we are contributing to make to remain to make it sure that our air should be clean. And so we have banned our green felling of our forests. That is contribution of Himachal Pradesh. But ultimately, we have to be compensated. Government of India as well as world community should compensate our mountain states, not only Himachal but all other mountain states which are preserving our nature. We are globally connected, and we have to ensure that we should be compensated by the communities, other communities which are being benefited directly or indirectly by preserving our nature and environment.
Dharmani sir, I just want to ask you one more question. That you are the new townships are expected to come in Himachal Pradesh.
Yeah.
Shimla development plan is already been approved and given the green signal by the apex court as well as by the NGT. So Himachal Pradesh किस चीज को कौन से मॉडल को फॉलो कर रहा है आइदर इट इज देयर आर सम फॉरेन कंट्रीज स्टडीज और स्टडीज विद इन द इंडिया जो अदर माउंटेन स्टेट्स हैं लाइक जैसे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो स्टेट्स हैं आप वहां पे एक्सपर्ट्स अपने भेज रहे हैं जो वहां पे क्या टाउन एंड कंट्री प्लानिंग वहां कैसा है वहां की किस चीज को हम शिमला में हिमाचल में इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं तो ऐसे कुछ एनी स्टेट्स या एनी कंट्रीज जो आपको लगता है कि वहां का स्ट्रक्चर जो वहां पे जो फॉलो किया है वहां के लोगों ने दैट शुड गवर्नमेंट ने वो हमें भी फॉलो करना चाहिए एनी कंट्री एनी अदर स्टेट्स इन वर्ल्ड एंड इन इंडिया
We have hired a Tata Group to give us consultancy with respect to development of a new township nearby Shimla, which is called Jathia Devi Township. And we are planning to start its construction activities on this. But our focus is to make it environment friendly. It should be a green city. Not only smart city, but smart city may have many components, but our major focus is to make it environment friendly city, eco city, and our main focus is to everything should be aligned with our mountains, whether it is architecture drawings or its overall planning of the township. It should align with our hilly areas, hilly architecture. We are discussing. It's a discussion mode yet. We are finalizing it that we should make rainwater harvesting structure. We should make we should connect our this new township with the proposed ropeway of intracity Shimla ropeway. It should be connected with that also. It is along the proposed highway, which is Shimla Bilaspur Shimla Mataur highway, and it will connect this highway with this mountain Jati Devi township also. So we are committed to save our environment. We are committed to save our culture also. It also and another thing I want to say that we have give our intention. We shared our intention with the consultant also. We have a lot of discussion we had held with the consultant as well as different stakeholders of this project. And I personally visited Japan last year, and I see there are many uh, multi-story buildings in Japan also, and Japan experiences a lot of earthquakes. Hardly any week will go when there will be no earthquake. Still, there Japan experience uh, very less loss of property and loss of lives due to earthquakes. Hardly any building collapse. That is their design philosophy. They make their structures not only building structure but whole infrastructure. During earthquake, we hardly know that there are fast trains, super fast trains. We call it a bullet train, and they call it sink and sand, and
Okay.
that hardly stops for few minutes, and after that it moves as normal. And they experience minimum disruption even due to heavy earthquakes. And earthquakes up to 5 or 6 Richter scale, they hardly stops their ongoing activities. Some years ago, they experienced loss of damage due to tsunami, and I discussed with them. I visited Fukushima also, where its impact was huge, and there was a nuclear reactor also. But that was due to their overconfidence, because many times they issue alerts of tsunami when earthquake strikes in the ocean, but they take it lightly, and due to that major cause of their more damage to property as well as to human life. Otherwise, their structures are very safe. Their roads are safe, even over we can say flyovers and tunnels as well as railway tracks. They have built their structures which are safe to natural disasters. So we are trying to take good practices of all the uh, communities which we have developed there across the world, and we try to incorporate some of these, although it increases our cost of construction, but ultimately we have to go for higher cost also.
Dharmanji, my next question is, as you also held a portfolio of technical education, vocational and industrial training.
Yes.
Actually, there is a very big perception that the architects here who are working, masons, they are
Yes.
from the far away states, plain state like UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh. एंड हमारे जो हिमाचल में है, जितने भी मिस्त्री हैं, हिमाचल का कोई भी मैसन आपको कोई भी हिमाचल का नहीं मिलेगा. देर इज ए it is a huge gap between the understanding of mountainous landscape and the plain landscape. अभी पीछे कहीं there are some statements also, we will vocational courses लगाएंगे in masons के लिए, they will be trained भी पहाड़ों पे कैसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खड़ा करना है. और so how do you see this, and is government is really serious about it? Because it is for a I mean, your previous government was also, because there was this tragedy in Solan, some 25-30 army personnel were killed when a multi-story building was collapsed. So now the same incident is also being reported during your time. So please tell us something about it.
It's very interesting, and I want to add some political inputs related to this. मोदी जी अक्सर हिमाचल के बारे में नेगेटिव बोलते हैं, लेकिन उनको ये भी बोलना चाहिए कि जो बीजेपी रूल्ड स्टेट्स हैं, यूपी, मध्य प्रदेश, बिहार में कोलिशन में है, वहां के लोग और राजस्थान के बहुत सारे मेसन एंड लेबर जो है वो हिमाचल में काम करने के लिए हजारों की संख्या में काम करने के लिए आए हैं. एंड यू आर राइट टू पॉइंट आउट दैट देयर इज a lot of scope to train our masons, carpenters, and other skilled labor also in construction sector, involved in construction sector. But that is not the point that we have not so well trained labor or manpower here. Although there is a lot of scope to train, and it's a continuous process, and we are planning to do that. But the major concern is in Himachal, for which we are lacking to go ahead and to make our state a developed state, which we have good potential for. Our people has developed a mindset due to policies of previous governments that government job is the best job, and they are vying for that, and everybody is seeking for government job only. We have I visited a good ITI in my state today itself. That is Shahpur ITI. It's a leading ITI, and I found that many of students, even 99% of students, their first preference is government job, and this mindset has give impression to everybody, whether it is mason or carpenter or driver or plumber, electrician. Everybody wants a government job. That is the major reason that we have to take services of masons and other skilled workers which are from outside state, because our own people, they get training, but they hardly do the job related to their training.
Okay.
So it rightly said that we have to change mindset also. We have to fight it not only to impart training only, but we have to change mindset also, change mindsets of our youth. I also addressed the students today also. So I requested them that look for other options also beyond government jobs. And this mindset increased due to our policies also, because there are hardly any social security cover for the people who are working as manual workers, manual skilled workers, or working as masons or carpenters, or working in other trades, working as self-employment or working in private sector. So we have to equalize. We have to ensure that they should get. They should be brought under the cover of social security schemes, like healthcare schemes, like pension schemes, like schemes to compensate during their loss of employment, or due to some accident, if they become incapacitated or due to loss of their limbs, then they should be compensated for that also. It should be at par like with the government employees. Only then we can encourage our people that they can opt for self-employment and go for private sector jobs also. Many of people they are doing, but major population is only trying to get government jobs. That is the major concern. And you definitely pointed out that we will like to train our people in, and we have started this in our ITIs, polytechnics also, and we have Himachal Pradesh Kausal Vikas Nigam, that is Skill Development Allowance, Skill Development Corporation, and we have started Skill Development Allowance also for giving training to students. Some centers which are empaneled by the government, and the students who are getting enrolled in those empaneled registered institutions, they get 1,500 per month as a skill development allowance to encourage them to get this type of skill training. So we have started many initiatives, but ultimately we have to change the mindset of our people. That's the major challenge.
You are right. So, Mr. Randhawa, I again will come to Mr. Randhawa. Quickly, I will I would like to ask you one question: that how can we mitigate the effects of climate change? which is inevitable. And what should we do to avoid the water crisis, particularly in Shimla? Mr. Randhawa?
Climate change is not a, it's a very global or regional phenomenon. Okay. So temperature overall, we know that overall rise in temperature about zero point 0.7 degrees Celsius and Earth's temperature, and globally it's about 0.20 degrees Celsius per decade it is rising. And the model projection says that by 2050 it will rise by 1.5 degrees Celsius. So definitely, temperature rise is more on the mountains than the plains. It is proved now. This has adverse impacts on our resources like glaciers and snow covers, so which are affecting more because of the warming effect, because they affect more directly the glaciers and the snow cover. And we have done studies which says that there is a decrease in the snowfall, change in the snowfall pattern over a period of time. Whatever snow we used to get in the winters, in the early peak winter months, that is from October to January, February, there is slight shift in that pattern. We are getting more snow in the later half of the winters, like February, March. Even it is extending towards April and May. So the reason with that the snow which we get in the later part of the winters, that is not going to sustain for a longer time, and we have a shortage of water in the peak summer time when we need more water from the winter snow melting. So these type of things are likely to be faced in the time to come if the climate change is taking place in the mountains as we are experiencing nowadays. So the only thing which we can do is we have to regulate, like Minister Saab ne kaha, ki we are more shifting towards the green transport systems. Definitely, it will supplement in checking the greenhouse gas emissions to some extent, and will locally at some micro level scale we can check the rise in temperature, and also to some extent we can reduce the warming effect on other glaciers and snow covers. Also, our minister said that we are not allowing the people to file that green cover, so that will also add to enhance the carbon sinks, so which will add to absorb more carbon and releasing to the atmosphere, which will reduce the greenhouse effect, and which will decrease, which to some extent will add in checking the rise in temperature. And to say we can say that we can do something towards the environment by doing so by small steps, like uh, shifting from the green shifting towards green transport systems, then other things like switching of light when you don't need. So these four tips can add to checking the controlling your local at local level. So these types of things will definitely will add to in controlling the temperature at the local scale.
I will like to come to Mr. Chetri. Dr. Chetri. As you said, you are from the Eastern Himalayas, like from the Darjeeling. So वहाँ के जो challenges हैं और हिमाचल के जो challenges हैं, क्या वो they are the similar, the both the areas are facing the similar challenges, or there is some differences? जो challenges वहां पर हैं वो यहाँ नहीं है, जो यहाँ है वो वहां पर, जैसे urban development हुआ, the construction of new national highways and connectivity, the vehicular population, the vehicular population, and the vehicular pollution. So the both of the, I mean, is there any kind of comparison, or the both the areas are facing they have their common problems, or they are the difference between the problems?
Some of the environmental problems are very similar, because last year what we faced in Sikkim and also in Darjeeling is that of Gulf, right? This is glacier, lake outburst, flood. That's a climatic, that's the environmental kind of a calamity which the region actually faced. In the same sense, Himachal also faced issues of cloudbursts and so many other kinds of issues which are very, very similar in terms of environment. But in terms of the response, right, in terms of the political response to those kind of issues, we see a stark difference. So, in case of Darjeeling, at least also in the case of Sikkim, you see that the how the respective state government and also local bodies responded to those kind of issues would be very much different in comparison to what has happened in case of Himachal. And in terms of the overall infrastructure, also, I would say that Himachal, it does very well in comparison to the regions of Sikkim as well as in the eastern Himalayas like Sikkim, Darjeeling, Kalimpong. So overall, I would say that there are starkly differences, but the differences are not only in terms of the natural, the environmental and ecological output, but also something which is induced by the people themselves. The political factors are involved there, motivation is involved there. So all these things plays a very important role in creating, designing certain kind of infrastructure which is more sustainable or which can be relied upon by the people.
I think that's amazing. And is there any solution for water shortage?
A water shortage now, the from the government side, from the municipality, and from other government bodies, we only get certain kind of solace. We only get certain kind of promises, but that never gets resolved because what's happening in case of the East Himalayas, it seems that some of the local political parties, because unlike in case of Himachal, the case of Kalimpong and Darjeeling is also a slightly different kind of space because people of that region is also demanding statehood. So there would be a certain kind of political party, there would be a certain kind of political force which actually rules the day, right? And in some way or the other, in terms of the natural resources, now those political parties, or at least those that intermediary level of bodies, also play a very important role. So they also take a cut, they take a share in your water supply. They will also take a share in illegal mining of sand mines and so on and so forth. So those issues actually have cropped up in recent times.
Thank you so much.
But the response which the Honorable Minister actually gave on this Japan, I just wanted to share something that Japanese have done so well in terms of their designing of infrastructure, precisely because of the fact that they are rooted in the tradition.
Yes.
So some of the designs of the buildings, I have been researching on them. So it's designed on their traditional pagoda style of temples, which they have extrapolated, used modern technology, refurbished them, and used it as a form of a modern infrastructure. So that's what I was also suggesting, that in case of Himachal, maybe perhaps we can also do the same.
Yes.
We also have, yeah.
And I think on that note, thank you so much. We've had such a fruitful discussion, and it was so good to hear from all of you and the kind of steps that are being taken and that should be taken. I'm sure Shimla will only get better and better with time and not the other way around.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Mr. Dharmani. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much.